Go right ahead, sir. And your name?
I'm Connor.
Here's a microphone coming.
Thank you. I'm Connor Evans. I'm here with the Gainesville Times. And one thing I was curious about, kind of hearing you guys talk about this and knowing that, you didn't necessarily know about 1912 when you were, children. I was curious, how do you, or how have you talked with your children, if you have them, or other people in your family about 1912 once you learned about your own kind of family history? How did those conversations go?
Excellent question. Thank you. How do you talk to your children about the events? 1912.
One of the interviews that I did was for a podcast, and they wanted me to interview my children and my grandchildren. And so after our family dinner, we sort of had a round table about it. And surprisingly, my two daughters, they've known about it, in their childhood, because once that book came out and my mother did the interview, the doors were open then, and she talked more about it. And so she, discussed it with my daughters, as they were coming up before she died. But, so they know about it. So they weren't really that interested when we did this round table. They didn't have a whole lot to say. But and I have one grandson who does not talk. I'm sure if you all have grandchildren, you know about that. And then I have another one who does. The sad thing and the surprising thing was that he connected it to now, what's going on. Okay. And that hurt my heart, that in his mind he can see the connection, and that these type things, maybe in a different form, but these type things are happening now. And so that surprised me. That really surprised me. That's a great question. I appreciate you asking that.
Thank you so much, Connor. Anyone else? Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Napoleon Foster. I'm a member of the committee working with the scholarship. My history as it relates to Forsyth County is that I live in Forsyth County now. I moved there in 2007 from Decatur. I also, when I moved there, I knew about the Forsyth County history because I had the opportunity to march with Hosea Reed during the second march.
Yes.
So therefore, being there and thinking about the history of Forsyth, my home, I grew up in South Carolina, a little town called Greer. My parents had property there. My father had a total of 27 acres. And I think often about the fact that what if God placed me, instead of in Greer, placed me in Forsyth County? I would not have had the upbringing, the ability to go to college, the ability to have what we call generational wealth, because my father, when he died a millionaire.
Yes.
Because of his life that he lived. So I think about my situation there as opposed to being brought up in Forsyth County and not have had that opportunity. So therefore, that's one of the reasons why I'm a member of this committee looking for the descendants, because I'd like to make a difference.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Foster.
Oh, there was one question.
Sorry. You mentioned the name of the Kellogg family. Would you please tell me a little bit more about this person named Kellogg, if you know any more information?
I don't know anything about them. The first time Okay, I see Ms. McConnell has her hand up. You know about them?
Yes. I got pretty good math, so as I've said before, the Kellogg's had 273 acres on Stony Mountain. I'm pretty sure that I had seen the house where they lived. You wouldn't think it was a mansion, but the Kellogg's were very well off. His name was Joseph Kellogg, and he acquired the land over years and years. And then I have heard from one descendant that they left everything except what they could get in the back. So that's what I know. He was a farmer.
Very good, thank you.
Pastor,
Yes.
I want to let you all know, I have a list of all of the families and the number of acres
Okay,
that they have, and I brought that with me
very
today.
good.
And I also have the census, I think Ms. McConnell sent it to me. I
Okay.
have that printed out too, if anybody wants to look at that.
Absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. Go right ahead.
Hello, my name is Latricia Jackson, and I'm a resident of Forsyth County. I wanted to get your perspective on what's going on with our school board. So I don't know if you've heard about the things that we're fighting in Forsyth County. In 8th grade, the whole standard is about the state of Georgia. And there was a plan to actually teach about what happened in Forsyth County in 1912. There was work done with the Historical Society as well as the Remembrance Project to get the data, get it right, and teach all 8th graders in Forsyth the true history of Forsyth County. That has all been put on the back burner. We have parents banning books. We have people always screaming about CRT, missing the whole point of American history. And that was one of the main things. They wanted for 8th graders to understand the county that they live in. And now all of that has been put on hold. So I just want to know if you guys had any perspective on that, because that's something, check out one of our school board meetings, you will see the nonsense that we're fighting in Forsyth County. So while maybe no one in Forsyth ran people out in 1912, they are responsible for their actions now. And their actions is complete denial.
Very good, thank you. What's your name again?
Latricia.
Latricia, thank you very much. You get right to the point of our meeting today, thank you.
I
Excellent.
want to hear if you guys knew about what was going on and had any perspective on what's going on with our school board.
Real quick, I don't have a perspective, but I'm gonna take what's circulating on Facebook. The reason that they don't want this history taught is because these children will learn that their parents were responsible for it. And I think that's pretty good. You know what, and I hate to say I'm reaching from Facebook, but I believe it's the truth.
All right, good afternoon. Andrew Snorton, Stats Network based here in Atlanta. My question is probably going to be a 2-point. For what would you say when you look at your journey just getting to this point in regards to rediscovering, uncovering history, and you have the scholarship in place, what are other things you'd like to do to expand your reach? And then second, what do you think needs to be done for that audience or those ancestors that have yet to come forward?
So, and just for me, I see the resolution as just a first step, right? One thing you have to do is you have to recognize what happened. And I see this as part and parcel of the effort to have a scholarship, the effort to put the plaque up. I know that the Remembrance Project has worked on that and coming to recognize this. The effort to recognize the lynchings that have happened all over this area. This does need to be taught in the schools. This does need to be taught. Our children do need to know their history. I say this as a white Southerner, who was brought up, and my father was like, the Civil War is about slavery, and slavery corrupted everything it taught, and you need to know that, and you need to know that. And my family, in part it was a result, very much devoted themselves to social justice. My aunt is heading up the Remembrance Project in Greensboro, North Carolina, because of that history and knowing that. And that, does confer some obligation to address the wrongs and the residual effects that have passed down through the generations to us. So this is a part, though, I have a whole series of pieces of legislation for me that I'm working on and that I have that are here to try to redress, some of these issues and make sure, again, we understand how this event and subsequent ones, right, the many barriers the Black community has faced, that we recognize those barriers through time and we find ways to address them and lift people up so that they have that chance, they have that opportunity. And exactly, the loss of 270 acres of land, right, that had an intergenerational effect on families. And we want to make that whole and to make people strong and to redress what happened, as a community and do that. And so, that very much I have a whole slate of pieces of legislation that I've co-sponsored and pieces of legislation that I'm introducing, that are part of that ongoing effort to make our community whole.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yes, go ahead.
I have been on the committee for to tell the story of the history of Forsyth County. The reason it's on hold right now is the person we were working with, husband has had COVID and she's been out of work for several months, but we have come up with a program and the history of the county will be taught at an age-appropriate level. And
What is that level? Because there's a whole bunch of things that were supposed to happen that is not. What's an age-appropriate level?
well, they're going to tell about it at each level, but they're going, in the early years, they're not going to say someone was raped. They're going to go on to, in upper levels, will know the whole story. But that's what we have been told. And there's several projects we're working with the school board that have been put on hold because of
And a lot of things because of diversity, I will say that.
Say that again.
There's a lot of things that have been put on hold because of diversity. They are banning books that deal with race, that deal with LGBTQ. That is what's happening in Forsyth County. Please just watch one school board meeting and you will see.
All right, thank you.